putting out daily videos.
We started recording. Easy.
So yesterday, because there was a good portion of my life where I was watching all of his videos, and I looked on there yesterday, and it's the same. It's the same. Like, oh my god, can you believe it? The same catchy title, and then he's doing his thing. It's hilarious. I watched half of one yesterday.
He's probably doing it for years now.
I bet you he makes good money on that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe a few $100 per month.
Oh,
But anyways, we're recording for the past 34, 35 seconds. So we'll dive in. And it's been probably been 3-4 weeks since we recorded the first episode.
yeah, we had a bunch of stuff going on,
You
travel
had a,
and family.
yeah. So you are, where are you right now? Lodi? Stockton?
I'm in Stockton, California, visiting my folks. I'll be down in San Luis Obispo in a couple of days for a little while, and then back up to the Pacific Northwest.
Fantastic. I'm out here in the Yoni Havana Clinic as it's coming together here in Georgia, Woodstock, Roswell area. And let me tell you something. So here's what I did this morning for my morning routine. I
God.
came in here into the damn. I can hear the echoing in here, which is going to be resolved soon. Hold on, let me try this. One sec. Maybe that's going to help. Did I open
The echo isn't bothering me, but I mean,
Yeah,
you
I
could
mean,
put some of those pads on the walls in there.
yeah, I'll figure it out. I think when more furniture is here, it's gonna be better.
Sure.
But anyways, I did like changed the morning routine this morning. I came in here as I'm more inspired by the space and the cold plunge is here. So I cold plunge yesterday for the first time, and it was fantastic. I just did like 52 degrees, probably 7-8 minutes.
What? 7-8 minutes?
Dude, you can stay in 50 degrees for 20 minutes easy. It's not a problem. That being said, my hands were not in there for most of the time. My hand, I put my hands in there for like, I don't know, like 20 seconds at a time. I take them out. My fingers get, the
Okay,
extremities are the hardest.
hold on, Doc. That is by far the hardest. That's like saying I did Fran yesterday, but I didn't do the thrusters.
Yeah, I mean the hands were not in there for most of the time. I have to tell you that. I did. Do you put your hands in there for the whole 3 minutes?
Dude, so now when I get in, I go straight in, head under, dunk my whole head,
Okay.
and then I keep my hands in. And the first minute, I have my hands under the water, but kind of by my chest, because the water near you warms up a little bit. And if your
Mm,
hands are in fists, it's easier.
mm.
But then Phil, the guy I do the plunge with, will kind of cue me to start waving my hands, like flapping them back and forth. And that shit is uncomfortable.
So based on you telling me that, I started flapping my feet and my hands when I was there. It was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I was playing with it. I haven't done it in a while, but the adaptation, happens quick. So even doing it today, less than 24 hours later, I like went in way faster. I got my head in, the whole thing.
So tell me,
Not
continue.
my hands. So, anyways, I woke up this morning. Probably woke up at 5. Stayed in bed until 5:20. Got out of bed. Came in here to my studio. And first thing first, I did a little Joe Dispenza morning meditation, about 25 minutes. And then this is what I wanted to talk to you about. I signed up to Ra's Kriya of the Week, the Kundalini
Wow.
yoga. So he has one Kriya, and you can go backwards. You can't see anything that happened before. You just do one Kriya, right? Like one type of Kundalini yoga practice that he comes up with for the whole week, so you can see your progress over the week and really internalize like what's going on in there. So it was a 14-15 minute situation. um
Guided?
yeah, it's all guided. So I did a meditation. I did breathing in between. I woke up with my right nostril was pretty stuffed, so I did alternate nostril breathing, probably like 3 minutes. Then I did the Kriya, and then I did movement, and then I got into plunge. Got home, back to the main house at 6:50. My daughter just woke up, so in an hour and a half, I got all of it done, which was fantastic.
Whoa, you were really efficient. Wait, so you got out of bed at like 5:20. You're probably in the studio at 5:30.
No, I mean, I probably was in here at 5. I mean, it's I brushed my teeth and I was in here like within a few minutes. So maybe I started at 5. It was hard to tell like what time was it really, because I was just glancing at it with my blue light blocking glasses. It was 5:20 that I got in here.
Dude, so you like went in straight into Joe's meditation. That's probably with setup and everything. That's like 30 minutes. Then you
Okay.
did some quick breath work. What was that? Wim Hof or something else?
So no, I just did nostril breathing for 3 minutes, just
Okay.
alternating right and left.
Okay. Then you went into straight into Raw's Korea of the Week.
Mm-hmm.
How do
15
you
minutes.
how are you looking at that? Is that in is it like an app or
It's a website, so I just threw
okay.
in a video on my computer, and I prepped everything before, so the meditation was ready to go. I just clicked and pressed play. Last night I prepped like the area in here, so all I have to do is come in here, press play. I don't even have to put headphones in here because I'm not in the main house. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, then I did the Korea. Then I did about probably 10, 15 minutes of movement, and then probably about 7 minutes of cold plunging, and wiped myself and put my clothes back on, and I was back at the house at 6:50.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. That's so is that going to be something you're going to stick to?
For now, yeah. I mean, I signed up. It's a monthly subscription. I'm gonna give it at least a month. I talked to Mike Van Epps, our mutual friend that used to go to San Francisco CrossFit, and he and I had a conversation about Kundalini yoga, and he said he listened to one of our old podcasts about Kundalini yoga with Amelia,
Oh
and
yeah.
he got interested. And then, I mean, I was thinking about it recently too, and then I was thinking about Ra. Anyways, I just signed up for the 7-day trial. I'm gonna give it a go. It's nice. It was super nice.
How is Raw? Is he still putting out content on Instagram and everything?
How would I know?
That's a
I
fantastic answer.
I didn't go and check social media. I just went to rawofearth.com, and then that led me to kriyaoftheweek.com, which is KRIYA of the week.com for the people who want to check it out. It's pretty cool.
Wait, so tell me what was the Kriya today? Aren't you usually just like sitting and it's kind of like moving energy up the spine kind of things, like breath work, that kind of thing? It's not what you would think of as like yoga.
He does his own take on Kundalini yoga as a whole, and actually we had a podcast with him as well where he was talking about it.
Yeah.
Um, his self-taught, self exploration. It was seated for probably a quarter of it. I was like putting my hands together like that and really squeezing so like super hard to create a vacuum between my hands to kind of create energy, and also squeezing my tail to the ground, my head up, so like squeezing my spine at the same time, and just holding for 3.5 minutes. And then it was a 2 minute like arm straight, like on my back, arm straight, leg straight up, really squeezing the arms and the whole body as well. You know, creating energy stability. Then it was kind of like some sort of a not a happy baby, but like knees to chest hold with the head tucked in. That was the hold, and then it ended with a shavasana that he was guided, similar to some of the Joe Dispenza situations where you're supposed to leave your body and watch your body from the top, and he gives like this like you wash with like golden light. You're looking at your past self. You're looking at your future self. It was fantastic.
Oh, so that sounds great. So you liked it.
You there?
Okay. So you like it. You're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, why not?
Wow, it's crazy. I was thinking about that maybe a couple of weeks ago. I was wondering if he was still doing it. So is it he probably has 52 Kriyas, I guess.
I think he has more. He just comes up with something every time. I think he's been doing this for at least 3 years. Maybe he's changing things a little bit. Maybe he's repeating things at some points, but I think he just, he comes up with stuff
Huh.
all the time. So
Ra's an awesome guy.
fantastic human.
He really knows what's going on. Good for him.
Yeah, he's a special being.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me what's going on with your animal based
Whew.
eating
Well,
recently.
I'll tell you. So my ancestral or Heart and Soil supplements just arrived yesterday. I just saw that they had arrived to the house. They took a little longer than expected. So now I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be organ deprived for the next, I don't know, 5 days or whatever. I'll be back home on Sunday or Monday, up in Bend.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get that in the meantime. We just started taking so much more of them that like our current subscription ran out really fast.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have like a lot coming in.
What's a lot?
I don't know, maybe like six different things, six different bottles, and they're all blends.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
I have like the Life's Blood, the Bone Matrix, organs. I think there's a spleen one. The male, like the one that's
Whole
basically
package.
desiccated balls. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. But so I've been eating, but in order to kind of when we ran out, I started just eating the Force of Nature Ancestral blends because that's got 5% heart, 5% liver. And then I just
Mm-hmm.
realized Kelsey and I cleaned out our freezers or just kind of organized them because those chest freezers end up being just a pile of
For
stuff, and
sure.
then the stuff on the bottom doesn't get eaten as quickly as the stuff on the top because you run out there, you open the lid, you're like, oh, there's ribs on top. We'll have ribs. But I looked in there and I found that we have a ton of spleen, a ton of liver, a ton of heart,
Mm.
a tongue, which I'm not that big on. Benny eats a lot of the tongue. But I thought I can just take the ground beef, run it through. I have like a Wesson meat grinder, run it through that with
Mm-hmm.
5% heart, 5% liver, and just make my own ancestral blend grinds too.
For sure. I think we've talked about it briefly, and I have some organs and some fat. But then I was thinking, as soon as I defrost all this meat, it needs to be consumed, right? I mean, I can't really grind food and then refreeze it. I don't think
You
that
can't
is gonna fly with the nutrients.
really,
I'm not 100% sure, but
but you also don't grind it
there's
at like at a crazy like at room temperature. You grind it, I think, semi-frozen, right?
I do not know. I think if it is semi-frozen, perhaps it can still go back to freezing. I know that once it goes to a certain temperature, I don't know, but I'm quite sure that once it goes to a certain temperature, it's not safe to refreeze it, or it really loses a lot of the nutrients already, so it needs to be consumed.
Really?
That's what I've heard from a friend of mine who's my neighbor who's animal based for a long time.
Okay, he probably knows what he's talking about then. I wonder. I mean, that'd be really hard to figure out if some. I mean, huh? Okay, that throws a little bit of a wrench in my plans because I have all this organ meats, but I don't want to eat them unless they're ground up in. I just don't want them.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to wait till they have some company, and then take some meat out, take some organs out, make a batch, and consume it within the next whatever 48 hours.
Huh. All right, because I was thinking, all right, I'm going to make all this it's ground beef from that Sisters Cattle Company. They have these amazing cows that are raised on 50 species pastures. They're insanely delicious. And then everyone, when they did their last kind of, farm share, everyone who bought cows, I think there's probably 50 of us, uh, most people didn't want the liver or the heart. So and dude, beef hearts are big, and so are beef livers. So I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of beef liver and beef heart, and I thought, all right, I'll grind all this up. I'll have a big pile of ground, basically ancestral blend. I'll make it into, a
Mm-hmm.
little over 1 pound burger patties and vacuum seal them like one or two at a time. So then I'll just have these ready made patties. I mean, in theory, it sounds good, but maybe that's not going to work with the refreezing situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we need to look into this. It actually, when you were talking about beef liver, this is one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. So I got the Carnivore Code, which is Carnivore MD Paul Saladino's cookbook,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't browsed it much. But one of the things that I quickly skimmed in the beginning is that he has a chart that compares a bunch of foods and their nutritional value based on a bunch of vitamins and other, essential minerals and such. So I'm looking at it right now, and it compares blueberries, kale, ribeye, beef liver, fish roe, and egg yolk. And it's per 100 grams. And then we have vitamin A, vitamin B1, B2, B3, B6, B7, B9, B12, vitamin C, vitamin D, E, K2, and then calcium, choline, copper, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, selenium, and zinc. Now, in this chart, it is amazing to see why, in most of these desiccated supplements from Heart and Soil Ancestral supplements, the ones that desiccate organs, meat organs, almost all of them have liver in them, right? So if when I look at this chart, it says that vitamin A per 100 grams of beef liver has almost 5,000 micrograms, which is, compared to a ribeye, there's five, so that's 1,000x. In blueberries, kale, there's nothing. In egg yolk, you have like almost 200, fish over 90. Anyways, the takeaway here, when it comes also to, let's see, so B2, B3, B6, B7, B9, B12, right? So full spectrum B vitamins are super high in beef liver. Then it has a super high amount of vitamin K2. It also has a little bit of vitamin D, but as we know, it's best to get it from the sun. A good amount of choline, a good amount of copper, iron, and then some magnesium, some selenium, good amount of selenium actually. Anyways, it just was super interesting to me, and I'm now working with a friend who has quite the host of health issues, and her daughter has some health issues, and their alternative holistic doctor, integrative doctor, prescribed, as we know, right, a slew of vitamins to be taken orally. Let's say from Thorne, usually that's the go-to brand. This is the brand that sponsors the Olympic USA Olympic
They're
team.
legit, but
But
they're synthetic.
yeah, yeah, that's what it is. I mean, I don't know exactly where they extract it from, but I know now that the absorption of these extracted vitamins, especially if they're not taken with food, but even when taken with food, is compared to getting it from whole foods, right, from a liver, from an animal product, from a whole, whatever fruit, vegetable, etc. There's nothing to compare. So why buy a bunch of supplements, get almost no absorption, especially when it comes to vitamin D? There's almost no absorption. People are taking, they need like 10,000 international units to take it, and then of course it does not have as much vitamins and the strength that the sun has. But anyways, it was, ever since I read this chart and I've seen how there's liver in almost all of the supplements from Ancestral supplements and Heart and Soil supplements. I'm like, liver is king, and that's why the guy, they came up with this company, Ancestral Supplements, calls himself Liver King, and of course this guy is a beast of the world, a huge huge mountain of muscle, who is also very functional, and apparently a great businessman as well.
Yeah, dude. Obviously I think liver is number one. I don't know. So two people, it feels like do the carnivore diet or get into the carnivore diet for two reasons. Either one is they're looking for basically an elimination diet, and I think a lot of those people eat just meat and they don't even really acknowledge the organ side of it, and I think they're missing out on a lot of nutrition that way. But they're usually
Mm-hmm.
trying to, mitigate some kind of autoimmune condition. So they're basically just eating meat because I don't know if it's that they're eating meat or that or it's more powerful that they're not eating anything else. Um, but then there's the other side of it, which is people like us who, I mean, to be honest with you, nothing really causes me that big of an issue. Definitely, I notice when I eat something shitty and I feel shitty, but I'm. It's like it's not crippling. It's not like career ending for me. Like some people get really really sick. So the reason I'm doing it is because I really think it's the optimal way to eat, and but that also means that you have to have the organs with it, right?
100%. I mean, when you're saying nothing or nothing is crippling, you're talking about foods, right?
Yeah, yeah. So like my mom, I get home, of course, my parents' house. My mom, I come in and there's like these plates of fresh baked cookies there. There's no way I'm not eating a couple of those. It's like whatever the consequences are of this, I'm fine with it. I'm taking it on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's after I eat them, you get that kind of like, I shouldn't have done that. I feel kind of shitty. But some people who have more I don't know, some kind of condition might be completely destroyed by that on the ground, like feeling horrible. These are like the uh, what's the guy who's always on Jordan Peterson. That's why I think that's why he's on the carnivore diet, because it's an elimination diet for him. He just eats ribeyes
Mhm.
because everything else bothers him.
Yeah, which now from the work that I've done and the work that you've been, both of us been researching and living, most likely he has some sort of a fungal infection, heavy metal toxicity, a parasite. One of those things is most likely present in his body. As soon as it feeds that thing sugar, or throws off his system with, say, kale or some cruciferous vegetable that is can be quite toxic, and especially at high amounts, he's being thrown off, and perhaps his digestive system is like, I can go with this right now. I have, perhaps he has a leaky gut issue or whatnot, um, which is interesting. I was talking also to our friend that I mentioned, Mike Van Epps, and he was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which is similar to Crohn's, which is what my wife was diagnosed with, um, by now almost 10 years ago. Both of them were put on Humira. My wife is off Humira for about almost 4 years now. He's still on it. He did not have any outbreaks. I've worked with him a bunch on, nutrition and stress and all that kind of management. And yeah, it seems to be, a common denominator there that, and this is what I want to segue in and talk about what you're eating right now, which is more fruit. Yes, fruit can throw off people that have these conditions, especially if they have a fungal infection. It's feeding the fungus, and then that can create a host of undesirable consequences.
Wait, so say that
But tell
again.
me,
Wait, fruit can throw off those conditions?
yeah, because if somebody has a fungal infection or even cancer, right, and we know that cancer and fungal infections that perhaps are also very the, could be there's a great correlation there in a relationship. But if fungus thrives on sugar, on glucose, which means it thrives on carbs, on simple carbs, especially the ones that convert quickly into glucose. On it can, on fruit sugars as well. We know now, I think me and you, that we do really well on a good amount of fruit, given that most likely we do not have a fungal infection because we would feel those consequences. Usually, it comes in some sort of stomach pains. This is what my wife had. This is what Mike that I'm talking about had. Digestive issues. They go and their number twos don't really look good or feel good. But usually excruciating stomach pains. It can lead, of course, to exhaustion, demotivation, irritability, fatigue. But yeah, so fungus and cancer, cancerous cells, they thrive on sugar. This is how they keep multiplying.
Hmm.
Um, so yes, I think for a lot of people, as you're talking about Jordan Peterson, perhaps as soon as they cut off these foods and some other carbs too from their diet, they're doing much better. They're kind of putting at bay their condition, not feeding most likely their fungus in their body. Not irritating as much their leaky gut syndrome. Uh, but I don't think they. If it keeps throwing them off, that means perhaps the fungus did not get into a baseline that is still that is safe and manageable, where fruit can be introduced again or some other carbs can be introduced again. And I want to speak about the fact that meat is not easy to digest. So that's also something to be thinking about. If somebody's eating a ribeye every day, as Sadhguru says, I think cooked meat takes about 72 hours to completely digest. So kind of eating muscle meat over and over again, especially if somebody is not chewing the meat to small bites, like really tiny bites, that can take quite a toll on the digestive system, which means on the energetical system, leading to less energy to do what we're doing now, right? I
Sure.
mean, talk, podcasting, hanging out with family, training, and everything else, right? And just enjoying life because the energy is constantly working to digest the food.
Yep.
Most of our energy goes on vision, just taking in the visual information we get, beautiful nature, computer screens, obviously are even more taxing, lighting, and digestion. That's like 70% of people's energy expenditure on average, if I'm not mistaken.
Do you,
Yeah, so that's a big talk right there.
yeah, I mean, so it's a kind of a weird. I mean, if you're say you're on a carnivore diet, I mean, I guess the whole thing is you eat less often. But Saladino, I think he eats twice a day, and it's meat, organs, fruit, raw dairy, and honey.
Hmm.
And his fasts are not even more than probably 12 hours. I think I want to say I went down his YouTube channel pretty deep. And it looks like he eats around his meal around like 11 and around 4, which is a pretty compressed
Hmm.
window, but he'll also have fruit when he wakes up in the morning, and he says that's to signal abundance. He wants his body to know before he goes. He does like gets up, does some movement, goes surfing, blah blah blah. But he says it's an abundance signal. It's telling his body, hey, we're well fed, like you're doing good. The
Mm,
fruit is
I
obviously
like
like
that.
Sadhguru, but it's kind of all this stuff kind of contradicts one another, right? So it's fast, but have some fruit in the morning to signal abundance. And most people say break a fast with not something that's super high in fructose or high in sugar like fruit, but he does it with
Hmm.
fruit. But
Hmm.
dude, you look at that guy, and he looks pretty healthy. I think he's in his mid 40s. Um, Holy shit! And he doesn't work out.
Yeah.
He goes to the gym. He said once a week, and he's in there. He's doing a lot of like stuff we would do with Edo or with Johnny, like rotational bridge and that kind of stuff, like floor work. He'll do a little bit of front
Hmm.
squatting, overhead squatting, and some hanging, some pull ups. That's it. Some knees over
Yeah.
toes stuff. He's not like he's in there, but he's like looks like a guy who spends a lot of time in the gym.
Is he surfing every day or no?
He's surfing every day, but dude, you ain't gonna get jacked going surfing. You could see there's a lot of guys that go surfing every day that don't look like Saladino. It's got to be attributed to.
Sure.
I mean, he spends also a ton of time. I haven't seen him with a shirt on. There's videos of him walking around the grocery store with no shirt on. This guy's a savage.
Which leads me to talk about sun. Tell me about the yoga sessions you've been doing in Stockton for the past few days.
So my parents have like a big backyard that faces east, and so I'll
Hmm.
do like an hour kind of vinyasa, very Western like fitnessy style yoga class. The studio I go to in the mornings back in Bend is they have a live stream, so I just jump on. I go every day. I liked it, and I'm not really doing it because I think it's just a great way for an hour to get everything kind of moving and stretched out. It's really programmable. It's a good check in. It's pretty finite. I have to be there at a certain time. I'm done at a certain time. It keeps my morning sort of on pace. But I do it with my D-Sunners or my what are those called? We call them D-Sunners.
The cool through, is it called cool through
Yeah, Cool
shorts?
Tan
No,
or Cool
cool tan.
Sun or something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I wear those shorts, so it's essentially like I'm naked out there, and I'm getting
Hmm.
sun all over the body for an hour while I go through this yoga flow. Well, so the whole thing with sun is, and that's really nice. The thing about California is you got sun on the regular here. Bend, granted, Pacific Northwest is less. Bend is very sunny for the Pacific Northwest, but it's not California. And that's the one thing I noticed down here is how much sun you have. I was taking Quicksilver Scientific makes the liposomal D3K2, and I was
Hmm.
taking that, feeling good about myself. I literally got it 2 days in. I'm taking it, and then you tell me, no, 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 that's bullshit. And it makes after you said everything, I thought, oh, this makes sense. Your body's used to getting something through the skin, and all of a sudden, I put it in this lubey, citrusy oil in my mouth, and I'm expecting the body to be like, oh yeah, there's the stuff we need. That's the right way. I mean, it's like saying, I don't know. It's just a totally different mechanism to me. This is total bro science. I have no idea if this is true, but it just makes like it's like saying, oh yeah, if you don't want to eat a ribeye, just shove one up your ass. It's getting into you either way. It should have the
Hmm.
same, but it's like no, it's a totally different. Or rub a ribeye all over your skin, and let it absorb that way. Which who knows? Maybe we'll be rubbing ribeyes on our skin in 2 years, and that is the way. But
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to say that. vitamin D2 with vitamin D3 with K2 from Quicksilver Scientific from Thorn is complete waste of time. It is useful, especially for the people who are not going to go and get
And
sun,
it's as legit as a synthetic supplement gets too.
for
Yeah.
sure. So I mean, there is benefit to it. Um, but of course, as you were saying, it's not the way the body is used to getting vitamin D. So it's much better to get it from the sun. I actually have the an article from Mercola that I saved on my desktop that speaks about vitamin D. And what he says here, let me find this for you. Let's see. He goes, I haven't swallowed vitamin D for well over a decade, and my level is still over 50 in the winter and 70 to 80 in the summer. If you had zero sun exposure in significant areas of your bare skin, like most people, then research suggests it would require 9,600 international units of vitamin D per day for most to reach, that level. I'm just not going to get into the numbers here. Um, anyway, so that's about 10,000 international units for the people who want to get to those levels. Although, of course, who knows what are the side not only side effects but also missing out on sun. So if it's warm and it's sunny in your area, and especially it's summer, I think even going during the top sun times, 12 to 4, 2 to 4, getting 10 minutes, getting even 5 minutes, is on as many body areas of the body as possible. It's a good investment. It's a good investment of the time. Also, it's a good break. I've been, I have the luxury of having privacy in my home. In the past few weeks, I've been getting about 30 minutes of sun around after I break my fast. Usually around like 12:31. Usually, I may be getting on a call with you. My wife is making a joke if I'm on FaceTime with you. But I'm getting a good amount of sun on my bare ass and whatnot, and I'm grounding at the same time too. So I'm standing on. Actually, I'm moving around between natural rocks that I have here, some sand, different types of grass. So I'm grounding and I'm sunning at the same time. And I do want to talk to you, kind of jump back in about the breaking the fast part. Is that yes, there are benefits. There's a bunch of research about fasting and not really putting anything into the body, because then the digestive system keeps going, and especially perhaps for some people that they ran the research on, sugary fruits perhaps did not work well for them. I think it kind of goes back to an idea that a lot of people have a fungal infection, they have other infections in the body. So when they break their fast, or they're not really fasting, it's starving whatever needs to be starved to get into homeostasis. They're not doing that well in the research. It seems for Saladino, and also for me, and also based on Sadhguru research, it's best to start actually to break a fast and start every meal with the juiciest food you have, and it can be a pickle. It can also be fruit. So I start every day with fruit. That's the first thing I do is I drink before my meal. I would drink I drink water with a bunch of what do you call it? Ancestral supplements. Which means organ meats mostly. Today was bone and marrow with some thyroid. Um, and then I go into fruit. I eat a bunch of berries, watermelon, pineapple, juicy food that is easy to digest. It takes very little time to digest. So I'll eat the fruit for probably like a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, take a little break, and then eat my main course about 15, 20 minutes later, which will be mostly animal based. And if I'm going to have dairy, I'm going to have the dairy beforehand and have a little break, which I talked to you about briefly. I don't think dairy and meat are doing well when they're too close together. I don't think it's great to have dairy after meat in close proximity, based on my experimentation and some research that I've done.
So what are you doing with you'll do meat? Well, what's your main course look like? Like what would it be today? Or have you eaten yet today? What have you
Um,
eaten?
today I actually had quite a different day since my parents were here in town, and I ran into this market that I've never been to before and that I really enjoyed. They have a bunch of Jewish foods, so they had uh, chicken liver, pate thing. So it's kind of, I don't even know what's in there, but they mash chicken liver with mayo. What else is in there?
I
I don't
don't
I don't
know.
know
I
if you
have
know.
no idea what pate is. I just know it's liver.
Yeah, it's delicious and nutritious. And now with my whole liver new affair, so I had some liver. I had some beautiful salami from Italy, some raw cheese. I think it was raw cheddar. I had a few things in there. I had some olives beforehand. Let me
You
see.
love this type of stuff.
Yeah, it was kind of snack food. Also, I was working here in the studio to move some furniture around. So, and I knew we're getting on the mic, so I tried to have a quicker meal. I had some pasture raised beef hot dogs from last night that my wife had. I'm making a ribeye tonight from White Oak Pastures, and I actually made the best ribeye I've made so far. I think it was a few days ago, and we were just like, "This is amazing." The White Oak in tallow, and also I've been using way more tallow than even than avocado oil and
Is
such.
tallow just rendered fat?
Yeah, rendered fat with some seasoning
How
in
do you
it.
make it?
Well, if you're say you're making bone broth or something, so it separates, and then you have a bunch of tallow,
Oh, I have
and
like
you can
40-pound blocks of fat from these pigs from my buddy who's runs up pigs up in the foothills, and it's really good fat. And I thought, oh, if I could make tallow out of this, but is it as simple as like throwing a big brick of fat in a pot and rendering it down? I don't know.
I have no idea. I do have a bunch of fat too from my Biarico pigs in
Yeah,
here, in 2.5 pound increments. But I do have a bunch of packaged tallow in here and some Iberico
where are
lard.
you getting your tallow?
And I've been White Oak Pastures,
Are you
baby.
sponsored over there?
I should get sponsored very soon. And I just saw before I got on the phone with you that they sent me an email. They have some boneless ribeyes on sale, and their ribeyes are like top notch. Grass fed, grass finished, delicious. So the thicker ones are easier to make, and not making mistakes on them. To get like a really nice char on both sides,
Yep.
and you still get like the raw on the inside. But what I did this time that I wanted to tell you is that instead of doing 20 minutes or at around 220, I did it 165, about 45 minutes on the Traeger,
Okay.
because I had to go to the store
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I don't have 20 minutes. So anyways, I put it on for longer, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I aged it for, I think, either a day or two in the fridge, so it breaks down a little bit more. I put some real salt on it, some pepper, so it breaks down, and the tallow on top of it just gave it the extra flavor. And we were all just going ballistic for it. And ever since, I mean, we've had a few steaks since. And today I asked my daughter, and on the way to school, and they have camping there during the summer now. And I asked her, "What do you want?" She goes, "Purple pasta." I'm like, "I'm not making purple pasta tonight." She goes, "White pasta." I'm like, "No white pasta tonight." Well, what else would you like? She goes steak. I'm like, "All right,
You
game
got it,
over. I'm gonna get a piece of steak for you.
dude.
Do you want watermelon?" She wants watermelon. So we're gonna start with some watermelon, which is 90% water, I think. Right? Get what when I just want to touch on this. What's watermelon and what's fruit? It's naturally structured water with vitamins and minerals in it. The water has already formed into
Yeah.
this new amazing nutritious source of food as well, but it's mostly hydrating. So it's water, and then fruit kind of absorbs more even of the hydration. Take a little break, let all the juices absorb in the body, get super hydrated, and then eat the more complex cooked food does not have enzymes in it.
What about Okay, two things that I wanted to not forget to ask you about. One, I'm taking Masszymes from what's their name? Biooptimizers.
uh, mhm.
Um, before I eat meat, I'm trying to. So I'm like, oh, this will help to kind of break it down a little bit. I don't know if those, again, that's you might be kind of cheating. There might not be a biological free lunch. There might be some kind of cost to that, but maybe 3 to 4 days a week, I'll take if I'm gonna eat a big meat meal. I take the Masszymes before.
Mhm.
What? Okay, well, I'll tell you the second one first. They're totally unrelated. Then you can give me your thoughts. The second one is how are you like sprinkling organ meats on top of Lena's steak? How are you getting? I can't imagine Lena swallowing 48 capsules of organs.
So she does want to take capsules,
Of course she
but of
does.
course we tell because she sees us doing it, which would be easier in terms of taste. But if she's too young to do that. That's a choking hazard for you parents
But
out
you
there.
could sprinkle it on, right?
Yeah, so you could sprinkle it on. The taste of organ meat is distinct and it's potent. So mostly, she gets her organs in a with a different food. So like in a smoothie. So I may make her like a very small smoothie with some thyroid in it, some beef organs, has some spleen, kidney, uh, you know whatever else it has in it. But what she does sprinkle on her food a lot now, and she did it this morning. She made banana pancakes with me, and she sprinkled it in the mixture. And sometimes she sprinkles it on top of like waffles that we make out of nut butter and such. She gets a lot of colostrum. And colostrum, you've been talking about colostrum for a long time. I was like, whatever. But I've heard recently that it's research has shown that it helps with, again, with Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, a host of immune issues, and it's tasty. I mean, it's freaking tasty. It's like the best milk possible. So I've been taking more of it, and she's taking most of it now, and my wife, of course.
Dude, Billy, the lady who runs Windy Acres, the raw dairy that I help out in town, she she'll hook me up with jugs of colostrum, and it looks more like orange juice than it looks like milk. It's like in these like little bottles, and it's deep, deep, like yellowy. I
Mm,
mean, whitish orange. But yeah, it's good. I'll even pour like a glass because I'll drink a glass of raw milk because I feel like that's like taking a superfood in and of itself. And
mhm,
she's so good to her. These cows live the dream out there.
mm.
She's like playing music while she's milking them, and she knows them all by name. They come running up to her like dogs. It's crazy. And
Wow.
I forget what I was talking about, but she takes this colostrum and puts it in little bottles, and I'll dump a little bit of that in with the raw milk. So it's kind of because I think when colostrum is the first milk, right? It's the first thing the baby gets, so it's really,
Mhm,
really nutrient dense and it kind of lays the foundation for everything that's going to be happening nutritionally for that infant or baby or little cow for the rest of its life.
mhm.
So I'll take a little bit of that with milk, and I do it a couple days a week.
Yeah, and I think that's the beginning of the milk. When a mother uh, breastfeeds her child, it's the beginning of the milk. It's as you're saying, it's the most delicious also and most nutritious. I think it lays the foundation for the rest of the milk to be absorbed better. So it's kind of like perhaps the digestive enzymes for the rest of the milk.
Mm,
It's the most concentrated. The supply has not been, it's been accumulating, and I would assume that based on some law of density, law of gravity, or whatnot, and just nature, and based on the baby wanting more, it goes to the big, to the front, and then it has this most nutrient dense, delicious milk in the beginning, and it's like, oh, I want more, right? And then that more is being absorbed with all of that, so perhaps the colostrum gets to some extent diluted, but enhances the rest of the breast milk. Um, which would make sense to me to for somebody who has access to raw milk to add a little bit of colostrum, or to start it with colostrum, um, and then drink the raw goat milk, raw cow's milk, and perhaps make more, the most of that.
yeah, and I've used this Surthrival colostrum powder. I use Keon's colostrum powder because a lot of times I'll make like a little dessert after dinner, which I know I'm not supposed to be doing
Hmm.
this after dinner, but I'll make kind of like a milkshake. I'll put some milk. I'll put like 4 egg yolks, a little
Hmm.
bit of colostrum, some colostrum powder, some chocolate collagen peptides, and a couple of bananas. Which she's blown away that I'm eating multiple bananas in one sitting, but it makes it
Hmm.
really sweet, and I make like almost like a chocolate milkshake after dinner. But it's got egg yolks, colostrum, the raw milk, the banana. I mean, probably the most unnatural thing in there is the collagen protein powder, the chocolate collagen
Mm.
powder.
I think based on Saladino, you want to stay away from that
Yeah,
collagen powder. 2 jugs of those from Primal Kitchen. I'm sure they have some benefit, as we've spoken about a bunch of supplements that we've been using for years. But compared to getting collagen from say ancestral supplements or from meat,
yeah,
uh, that collagen, I have those two. They're pretty full. I haven't used almost any of them. I think they're going to be passed on to a friend since I have what I believe to be now higher value, nutritional value, higher absorption value, collagen. And I do want to tell you again, I think it's best perhaps to break your fast with a drink like that, because first it's a lot of fluids, and to my understanding, it's not ideal to drink after eating, especially not in the, not within 30 minutes. 30 minutes would be kind of like the least amount that I would wait, and not a lot. It's just it dilutes the food in the stomach, and it creates quite the amount of confusion in the stomach of what the stomach needs to do
But
now.
wasn't it Arkady was saying, a yoga teacher of ours in the city was saying that it fills in the airspace, that there's airspace required with food in the stomach for
Hmm.
digestion, and that if you fill it up with liquid, it kind of fills up the gaps. It makes digestion more challenging.
Much more challenging. We want to keep get about three quarters full every time, leave some air, and kind of like any fire that needs air. That's what helps the circulation, the digestion to be most efficient. So yeah, I mean, I think it's and I want to touch on that I do I start eating around 12 every day, but I do have a drink around 10 a.m. every day, and that's my cacao drink. It has colostrum in it. It has raw cacao. It has a little bit of vanilla sugar for flavor, and also that one has antioxidants. It has some what's it called? Cordyceps mushrooms, some blue spirulina. Sometimes I put some beef brain in there from Ancestral supplements. I think it makes sense to me that, especially if I'm hungry, right? I'm nourishing the body, and similar to what Saladino does, there's an abundance. I'm not starving my body for the sake of somebody told me that I'm going to get some ketones and I'm going to live a longer life. I'm nourishing my body based on what seems what I think my body wants
Hmm.
more than what somebody told me that is going to be beneficial for me. Um, so I also make sure to not get confused that if I eat a good amount of sugar the night before because I went to a restaurant and had some ice cream, and then my body is craving sugar the day after in the morning, it's like, oh, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm like, not now we're playing, a game here that yes, my body wants more, but um, that's not what I want to get my body used to. So usually I'm not hungry in the morning. Today actually it probably took almost 3 hours until I had a sip of water. For most people, maybe that's not going to work at all.
I do the same thing.
But I was,
I
yeah, I was not even thirsty.
Yeah, sometimes I'm thirsty, but in the morning, people say like the first thing I do is go and slam a big glass of water. I literally use water to wash my mouth out after I brush my teeth and tongue scrape. And then
Hmm.
I usually walk in the sun to a yoga studio. I'll go do my yoga class. I get home. I don't have water until, I don't know, 8:30 or so in the morning. That's a few
Hmm.
hours after I've been up usually.
Yeah, and I drink the water super slow. I mean, otherwise I get quite bloated, and I can tell it doesn't absorb really well. And just if I drink it quickly, I would have to go to the bathroom, and I feel like I'm just wasting water. And I still do some sort of a water concoction, episode of vinegar, some lemon, honey, salt. So that's usually what I go for these days.
I've been going for those element packets quite a bit.
I like them. I have them. As you know, I don't intake as much salt. My body's not does not want as much salt, especially in you know. Here's the thing about salt. So important, so essential. I mean, water without salt is I think if you don't have salt for like 2 days or something, you die.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's salt. Salt is a crystal, and salt, since it's a crystal with water, that's living water. That's you know liquid crystalline water. This is full spectrum living water is being used with salts and water in some movement, usually some sort of vortices. It keeps moving, and then it can get some stillness, and then the salts help it get this beautiful structure, which is called structure water, liquid crystalline water. At the same time, I know for me at least, since I'm getting a good amount of salts with my food, I probably have still a good amount of salts in my body when I'm drinking. That's why only in a pinch. A full pack a full packet of Element is way too much for me.
I do a half.
Um,
It's too much for my mouth.
yeah.
It's the taste is very intense. It's
Hmm.
good, but it's intense. One of the if you do a full package of that, I can do a half pack in a big mason jar of water. So it's pretty heavily diluted, and it's still tastes like citrus or whatever the flavoring is of it.
Yeah, and then the natural flavoring in there. I'm looking more into real salt, Celtic salt, bamboo salt. Recently, I heard Saladino talk about another type of salt that I got from Thrive Market. I forget the name. Maybe it's not Macedonia, Maldona, perhaps.
What's the bottle look like for the package?
It's we only have one of those. Actually, let me pull it up and tell you which one it is. He was talking about it when he did the Whole Foods run, talking about all kinds of food. And this
I love
is
when Saladino.
it's called Maldon Sea Salt. I actually haven't tasted it yet. I just got the package. I don't know much about it. I know that he talks about it. So it's sea salt, and kind of going back to our origins, we most likely come from the ocean in some way or form, and definitely have a fantastic relationship with the ocean. Great grounding, which takes me back to our experience in natural springs in New Mexico, and my desire to go back to natural springs after hearing about it in a podcast recently. Just such a beautiful experience it is to get into a natural spring.
Are there
Just so
are they
beautiful.
around you? I just up in Bend. There's like I'm surrounded by them. They're everywhere because it's such a
Wow.
volcanic, rocky. Yeah,
Hmm.
there's tons of them. I mean, all the way from like
Oh,
big pools that people have, like kind of resort style springs. They're not really like
mhm,
fancy bougie, but they're like big pool. To the kind that we went in, which is literally we were like in a cave in a little
mhm.
big puddle.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there are any around me. I need to actually look into it. And I also heard in this podcast, this is Veda Austin on The Lifestylist, and she was talking about how the ones that have been commercialized, those springs, of course, they still have value, but the way the water is being treated, in terms of the conscious relationship of commercializing it,
Mm,
water has consciousness, so it doesn't really love that. I think the one that we probably hiked like 20 minutes to get into that one. Almost nobody there. Not as much human activity. I think the people that do make the effort also to go there, and the water gets more of a rest. Um, you know,
energetically,
yeah, energetic rest and all that. Those seem to be more magical to me.
for sure.
And of course, coming with reverend and gratitude, and it's a relationship.
Yeah. Huh. Damn, that gets me really excited. There's so that place that Mike had mentioned. I forget the name of it, but it was basically the midpoint between my parents are in California and Bend, and it was right on
A
the.
Shasta.
It was kind of by Shasta, but it was this place that had hot springs, a sauna, and a cold river, and you could just contrast bath. And I thought, I'm
Hmm.
gonna make it. Usually I do it in one shot, 7.5 hours. But if that place was still open, that's where I would midpoint over. I would have a membership to that place, and I would hang out there. Can you imagine doing 4 hours in the car, stopping,
Hmm.
having a? Oh, this is totally random, but this is something I wanted to ask you. Do you know what that little oven that Saladino uses to cook his ribeyes in is called? Have you seen that thing?
I do not. My neighbor has the same one. He got the same one. He buys all these toys. I actually asked him, and he forgot the name, and I'm going to ask him. I'm going to let you know.
Because that looks
Now,
so efficient. I mean, I love the Traeger and all that, but if you could just have something to pop, like slide it in,
is it the 1600 degree oven or something?
yeah. But it looks kind of like a little toaster oven, but it has an open front. He just kind of slides it in, cooks the meat there really quick, flips it over, boom, boom, ready to go.
I think I actually went to Williams Sonoma the other day just because my parents were here and just looking at some stuff for fun. She didn't buy anything. But I think I saw one of those, and it was for pizzas or something. It was like a pizza oven. It was
Oh,
super small. It just fitted like a 10, 12-inch pizza, and it was beautiful. Um, but yeah, I mean, it seems like for especially people that eat steaks all the time, it seems like a great way to not one waste any meat, and leave less room for mistakes. Um, and enhance the enhance the eating experience.
Yeah, no, that thing looks fantastic. But I was also wondering if that's something you could travel with, um,
For sure.
or camp with, kind of a thing. Like if you're gonna go stay in an Airbnb, if you could. Now I'm at the point, dude. When I go stay in an Airbnb, I'm bringing so much stuff with me. I'm bringing all kinds of water and filters and this and that and the other. My own night lights. What's if I got to throw
Yeah.
another 1 foot by 1 foot cube into the back of the truck and bring it with me to cook some steaks? Why not?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I travel with a good amount of stuff too. My food. The pans, the pots. The berkey. I mean, I bring my own straws. I mean, it goes. I bring a whole household, which is why I like traveling by car.
Yeah,
It is another reason why I like that. Besides the not being dependent, not the whole shebang about flights, which is a whole different conversation.
yeah. No, I do the same thing. I like car too, and it ends up being for a lot of cases, especially if you're only going like 5 or 6, 7 hours away. It takes about the same amount of time. I was driving down when I drove down a couple days ago. I stopped, just pulled off the side of the road, and sat underneath Mount Shasta. Beautiful evening view. My wife packed me made me a nice dinner. Sat there outside, got out of the truck for a little while, did some grounding, standing next to Mount Shasta, ate dinner, just
Mm,
parked there by myself for a half hour chilling. It was fantastic,
damn.
and that's just something. I mean, you could eat and walk around at the airport, but when I'm in the airport, I feel like I may as well be in a hospital. This place is, I mean, it's like, there's just like everything's beeping and flashing and bright lights, and it's just a intense environment.
And unfortunately, we can't bring also our water to
Yeah, and I
airports
got to
and
drink
to
their bullshit
airplanes.
water too. That's the other side of it.
Yeah, which element and some other stuff can enhance the water, which it's a good
Hydrogen tablets.
hydrogen
Yeah,
tablets. Yeah, but those are airports and airplanes are the most dehydrating places because of the lighting, because of the air, super dry air,
pressure.
um, yeah, pressure. I mean, it's tough. I mean, flights. The more one travels, and also the more one gets in tune with their body, the more they feel um, the effects. I'm always wearing my blue light blocking glasses. I have a lambs beanie, the one that you purchased from me. Um, and man, I mean, I'm wearing the underwear. I'm wearing compression socks. I'm moving. It's work. It's work just to get from A to B. Of course, it makes sense when it's a 2-3 hour flight rather than I guess an hour flight or more, especially coast to coast and international.
Yep.
But yeah. Anyways, I know you have a lunch meeting today, which is part of why you're in California.
Yep.
Let's wrap this up and pick up next week.
Beautiful. What do you have?
And
Any closing thoughts here?
for the ones who are interested, I think, especially we've been talking about carnivore diet or animal-based eating. What got me recently excited to share this with other people is that on Carnivore, I think it's carnivore.diet. That's the website. Um, yeah, let me check before I'm really sending people to that address. Carnivore.diet. Let me see. Made a typo in here. All right, so it's carnivore.diet. What's cool there is that they have success stories, and there are like at least 30 pages in there, I think more, of videos and written testimonials, and that helps send a message to a lot of people who are having some conditions, whether it's immune conditions or other energetical issues and pain and discomfort. So that's a good place to go. Perhaps get inspired and give it a try for the ones who are interested in it, based on the research that both you and I have done in looking at some tribes that Paul Saladino and Anthony Gustin recently looked at. I think it's the Hadza
Yeah.
tribe. These people mostly eat fruit, which they can find in bushes and a little bit of in trees. They eat a bunch of honey with all of it, the larvae, and then they hunt and they don't leave anything behind. This is not a supermarket. They have a relationship with the animal. They have reverence for it. They eat it slowly, turn in a rush to get back on the computer and check emails or check what's going on social media. Of course, all of these things that we, to some of them we still do. We live in a Western society. We enjoy them. It's a different type of perhaps a different type of nutrition requires uh, keeping up with this lifestyle, but it's inspiring and it helps to get some perspective on how perhaps we really have eaten rather than raising vegetables and in animals in ways that are currently common and seem to be not only detached from connection with Mother Earth, but also perhaps out of alignment with how we are most we perform best when we're consuming
Facts.
energy.
Facts. Um, that's beautifully put. One other thing you should plug. We talk a lot about water. You have a very comprehensive water guide on your site. Is that live or no? Not yet.
Yeah, the website will be live. Let me take a look quickly. I think the website will be live in about 2 weeks. So towards the end of June, right now it's June 9th, perhaps June 20 something, it will be live. There will be at least 7 articles on water with a guide on how to create full spectrum living water in your own home, how to upgrade your kitchen water for washing fruit and making soups and smoothies and all that. Um, of course, your hands as well, upgrading your bathing water, which is absorbed when you're showering and washing your hands, and even for your garden. So a lot of information there, recipes for hydration, sources to dehydrate us. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of content also coming up, of course, in the next years, but definitely the next few months on yonihavana.com. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to launch finally my most likely a 30-day activation course, which will have multiple live sessions with me, including Q&A, including presentations on coffee, on hydration, nutrition, sleep, recovery, hygiene. I'm going to bring some of our mutual friends to talk about EMF, to talk about different type of specialties, and help people create a life plan for themselves, something I call the 5-year plan. So quite an activation course is about to be released as well in the next month and a half, before my baby boy is arriving in August 2022. So yeah, and my clinic here on the border of Roswell and Woodstock, Georgia, is going to be actually. I'm going to do my first cold plunge meetup. I think either on the 19th, which is your birthday, or the week after on the 26th, which is a Sunday, inviting people here to experience some breath work and cold plunging, and they can bring their families, meaning their kids. There's going to be a water table, a sin table. My daughter will be playing here with a bunch of other kids. They can come hang out in my property in the woods.
Dude, that sounds amazing. You are absolutely crushing it.
I'm doing my best to live my purpose and share some beautiful experiences with lovely people.
I know you are.
Uh, anyways,
All right, doctor.
thank you for your time. Thank you for making time today in California on your trip.
I'll have a
I
better.
will talk to you
I'll have a better mic next week.
better mic next week. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, doc.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.